So NAKIVO, you have just launched the latest version of your backup and replication software, if I got that right. It would just be good to understand, is this yeah, I know a lot of companies, you just regularly update a version, etc. Is that what it is, or is this a bit more significant than just a 6-monthly update or whatever it happens to be?
I would say it's a regular update, but at the same time, it's also a significant one. And let me explain what I mean here. We have a release schedule, which is a little bit different from the release schedule of, let's say, well-established big vendors who mostly release their software once a year, sometimes even once in 2 years. They roll out a major release with a lot of features. At NAKIVO, we don't do that. We try to deliver value incrementally, and we try to make a release every quarter. So this is a regular quarterly release that we usually have, 10.7, yeah, basically it's just a part of our release strategy where we deliver value to our customers sooner rather than later.
Okay, and in terms of what's new, which I guess people will be very interested to find out about, there are some, shall we say, some updates and some new features, if I understand it. So maybe you can talk us through those, and in no particular order, although this might be the most important one. Can we start with the direct backup to cloud? What is that? What does that offer?
Okay, so first of all, let me enumerate all the updates that we're making in 10.7. That is backup for Microsoft 365 Teams. That's backup to Azure Blob, backup to Backblaze B2, storage, immutability for Wasabi repositories for data stored in Wasabi, Microsoft 365 native change tracking, and the new overview dashboard. With regard to direct backup to cloud, I guess you mean the backup to Azure Blob, right? That's just one addition to our backup to cloud offering. Before 10.7, NAKIVO Backup and Replication could back up to Amazon S3 and Wasabi storage. So now we're adding backup to Azure Blob, and now we're adding backup to Backblaze, which are alternative cloud destinations for our customers. And for Wasabi backups, we are also adding the option to keep backups immutable for a certain period of time, like it is in Amazon S3. I'm sorry. So that's essentially it from the cloud backup perspective. As for the other things on the roadmap, on the plans, we plan to introduce backup to generic S3 compatible endpoints at some point in the future.
Okay, so you've got a fairly comprehensive sort of link to a lot of those cloud providers, and you say you're going to sort of complete that picture over the next, I don't know, what, couple of years, would that be something like that?
Probably not even years, but rather quarters, because again, we don't measure time in years, we measure time in quarters. These days, the time flows quite fast, and we have to adapt, we have to act quickly. Just to mention, NAKIVO is a relatively young company. We were founded in 2012 as a startup. We started really small with VMware only, and incrementally, like time after time, year after year, we've been adding new features and new platforms. So we started off with only VMware vSphere back in 2012, and our software could only run on Windows. Now we support VMware vSphere, Microsoft Hyper-V, Amazon EC2 Cloud, Nutanix Acropolis Hypervisor. We support physical Linux and Windows servers and workstations. We support Oracle database and Microsoft 365 objects, so the coverage is pretty wide. Moreover, our software can run pretty much anywhere. It can run on Windows, it can run on a Linux machine, it can run on a virtual machine or on a physical server. It can even run on a NAS box like Synology, QNAP, or Western Digital NAS. So basically, you can install NAKIVO Backup onto nearly any hardware, nearly any operating system.
Okay, no, that's good. And in terms of some of the other developments, we're all aware ransomware is almost a daily basis. Someone you read somewhere, somebody's had a ransomware attack and stuff like that. But you have sort of noted in this release that you produce some anti-ransomware features. So I'm intrigued to know what those are.
So what we have by now is we have a capability to make our backups immutable. So at this point, with version 10.7, customers can make their backups in the cloud immutable. We also have the option to provide local immutable backups on a Linux machine. So in the event when NAKIVO Backup runs on a Linux server, you can make your backups immutable by using Linux immutability on those servers, which means you can effectively back up anything to that Linux server, and over there it will be immutable for a specific period of time. And we also have the capability to back up to tape, which makes your backups air-gapped, and ransomware cannot get to your backups, to your tapes, and encrypt something over there. So that's what we already have for ransomware. Let's say to prevent your backups to be damaged by ransomware. So we don't prevent the original data, we don't protect or cover the original data from being encrypted, but we do back it up, and we do protect the backups from being affected by the ransomware.
Yeah, and you mentioned backing up to tape. I mean, as long as I've been in the industry, tape's been around, but everyone's sort of suggesting that it's sort of yesterday's technology. But is there an increasing interest in tape for the reason you've explained, that there is a physical gap, if you like, between disk and putting on tape, and then someone either takes the tape somewhere else, or at least it's not connected, so it's safe. Are you seeing more of that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I was a strong believer that tape is going to be dead quite soon, and that was about 5 years ago. So tape is not dead, and tape is tape will be effective, and tape will be demanded for a pretty long time. Our customers convinced me and convinced other people at NAKIVO that tape is a viable technology, because they were keeping to ask for adding the tape backup capability to NAKIVO portfolio, which we eventually did. So now we support backing up to LTO tapes, both tape libraries and standalone tape drives. Well, as to the most recent events with ransomware attacks, I would say tape is a very, very effective measure to keep your backups protected, because first of all, your tapes are offline, meaning that your backups are air-gapped by design. And secondly, even if your tapes are inside the tape device, it would take a very, very sophisticated ransomware for it to be smart enough to connect to the tape device and know how to override the tape backups, right? So tape is a very good protection against ransomware, although it comes for a cost, because the hardware isn't cheap. However, in many countries of the world, tape is just required by the law. So tape backups are a legal requirement, and a lot of companies and orgs just have to back up to tape. They have no other choice.
Okay, and in terms of, I guess on a not unrelated thing, you've done something as well or you just introduced Microsoft 365 data protection, right? Is that a new feature, or what have you done there?
For Microsoft 365, I would say we are not adding a new feature. We had Microsoft 365 backups for a few years. At this point, what we did, we just added backup for Microsoft 365 Teams, which was like catch up from our side, because we were adding the support for 365 services one by one. We started off with Exchange Online, then we added OneDrive, then we added, if I'm not mistaken, that was SharePoint. So we do this progress incrementally. We make this progress, and we add these services one by one, and Teams was one of the last services which were highly requested and highly rated by our customers. It was in a big demand. That's why we added it in 10.7.
Okay, that's cool. And you've also added, which I'm interested, because the whole sort of monitoring side of things, observability is an interesting piece at the moment, but you've added specifically backup monitoring. So what are you giving to your customers around that?
I would say it's not really correct. We didn't add backup monitoring per se. We added some initial form of infrastructure monitoring, of virtual infrastructure monitoring for VMware. But so far, our offering does not include backup monitoring. That is, we don't, version 10.7 doesn't yet monitor the backup infrastructure. That is something that's still in the works. We have it on our plans. So basically for now, in the current version, the users can monitor VMware environment. They can monitor their VMs, hosts, and data stores, and monitor some specific metrics like CPU usage, memory usage, and disk usage for those items. However, it's not possible to monitor the backup environment, like the backup infrastructure elements, the backup storage, backup size, etc., in the same central dashboard. We're working on that. We're working to add that capability. And that's one of the directions where we plan to develop our monitoring offering. Another direction where we plan to make efforts and where we plan to improve in the monitoring area, it is the monitoring, monitoring of the trends and monitoring of some, let's say, irregular or unexpected changes in those trends. For example, if your disk, if your CPU usage was roughly 20% on average for the past 3 weeks, but for 1 week it went up to 30%, this might be an indication that you have some ransomware or that you have some ineffective application running on that server. So that's kind of an example of what we want to do. One of that is backup infrastructure monitoring, and another one is the monitoring of trends, capacity planning, and triggering alarms if something starts behaving not the way it was behaving before. That's very good for ransomware use cases.
Yeah, so I guess a lot, I mean, you alluded to, I think earlier, that some of these changes, updates you've been making are in response to, customers have said to you, like, for example, the Teams aspect of Microsoft 365. So are there any other pain points? And again, you've very kindly shared sort of some of your plans as well. So this might be an unnecessary question, but I mean, are there more pain points or more sort of customer requests that you're able to share with us that we might be expecting from you in the near future, or is that a closely guarded secret?
I wouldn't say it's a secret. I would say for our customers, the main goals, as for any organization, the key goals are always the same. It is making sure their apps and data stay safe, they stay active, safe, and in the case of a disaster, they stay easily recoverable. At the same time, they need to keep their spendings within the budget. That's just the top level, the high level. At the more granular level, I would say we will be seeing more transition to the cloud, more transition to the cost optimization. Customers have a lot of like these days they have a lot of consciousness about how they spend their money, and there will be a lot of audit in terms of what applications are running, what applications should be running, and what applications should not be running. what data should be kept at tier 1 storage and what data should be archived. So such things as archival, using more cost-effective storage, and using more cost-effective backup, I would say these are the main trends. Of course, other main trends are the ransomware and the protection from cyber attacks. Those are also like global trends for the last year.
Okay, and you mentioned, I mean, cost is always an issue for any business, but I was thinking, I was going to ask you more generally. We've got the cost of living crisis, we've got energy prices going up, and that's on top of a sort of move towards more sustainable practices. Are any of those bigger business issues of customers sharing any of that with you, or are you more, you know, because you're sort of at a, I won't say a low level, you know, but a very specific place with the storage, you don't necessarily find out what they're thinking, or are people coming to you and say, you know, I need more sustainable storage? Can you demonstrate to me that, you know, what you're doing, you know, allows me to tick that box, for example?
I would say that lately we're seeing some push in the market for more sustainable pricing and more affordable. Customers start looking for more affordable alternatives, and that's where NAKIVO comes in handy, because we strongly believe that backup is not something that should be expensive. Businesses and orgs must focus on their primary goals and primary objectives. Backup is just an auxiliary thing which helps the business to survive and helps the org to maintain its operation in case of something going really, really bad, right? In case of a disaster, it could be a single file which was deleted by the virus, or it could be the whole server room which was burned down because of a Russian missile, right? So there could be any kind of disaster, natural disaster or whatever, and backup is designed to help recover from that. However, backup is not the main thing. It's not the place and not the thing on which the orgs must spend a lot of money and a lot of time. That's why we're always highly focused on saving time and saving money of our customers. And as an example, we are priced at roughly half the price of our competitors. And lately, we're seeing a lot more customers coming to us and asking to switch to our technology, to our software, just because they see it as a more cost-effective solution for their challenges. So we're seeing both new customers coming to NAKIVO and some existing customers of other vendors. Sometimes they get switched to NAKIVO Backup just because of the financial reasons, because frankly speaking, they are using the features that we have, and we have most of the features which are standard for the market, and they don't see the reason to pay more for the backup software, for the services, etc.
Okay, no, that makes sense. And I was going to sort of finish off by asking you, and I think you've alluded in that answer, obviously there's a financial incentive, you know, for folks, but for people that maybe are evaluating their backup options at this moment in time, what would be the one or two? You mentioned the finance, but are there any other things that you would put forward that, you know, NAKIVO is particularly good at, or you know, a good reason why people should look at your offering when they're looking for maybe an alternative?
Yeah, sure. So the main reason is NAKIVO is a reliable system. We have designed it in a way, and to start with, the backup must be reliable, right? It's like your, I don't know, it's like your seatbelt. If it's not reliable, then you're in danger. So we have designed our system to have some redundancy in place. Our software components can be set up in a way that they They can be redundant and they can replace each other in case one of the components goes offline. We have a self-backup capability. So NAKIVO backup software can backup itself and can eventually recover itself. We allow for 3-to-1 backup strategy and keeping your data in several different locations and making it synchronized and making it rotated on some specific retention scheme, including GFS. So basically, NAKIVO is a reliable backup system. That's one of the key reasons. It's probably even it's probably even higher than the price, right? Because having your data stored in a reliable way and being able to recover from it is a must-have. Affordability is probably at the second place. And the third place, it's last but not the least, it is simplicity. We try to make it really easy to use, make our interface straightforward and cross-platform so that you can install on Windows, you can install on Linux, you can open it from any kind of system, from a remote computer using a web browser. So we're making it easy to use so that the customers don't have to learn a lot. They don't have to spend a lot of time just figuring out how to make the system work, how to create your backup jobs or policies, and then how to recover. We know that with some competitive solutions, the learning path is pretty long. With NAKIVO, even the time it takes to install the software, with some other products, it might take hours to just install it. With NAKIVO, it can be done within 5 minutes until you start running your first backup job. So we're always trying to save time and money for our customers. And we're trying to make it very reliable so that the customers can recover. They can be sure they can do it at any time.
Okay, it's lovely. I mean, it's been great to chat to you, and thanks for sharing the information about the latest updates and news. So thank you very much indeed for your time.
All right, thanks. Have a good day.